My whole goal was to solve a problem. How do I make money outside of my corporate job? I just did it. Now I got the
You saw
blueprint.
it.
Like, okay, this actually works because I was telling a friend of mine this recently. A lot of times, although we may do stuff, you have a little bit of doubt. You like, I'm gonna move out of faith, uncertain about the outcome, but I'm praying that it works. And so when it actually works, you've now convinced yourself that you can actually do this thing fully, full-fledged, and you can go make a lot of money doing it. Darius Barrett here, and I'm a real estate investor, and I've been doing this for over a decade. What's up, bro?
What's up, man? Appreciate you spending time with us at Faces of Real Estate.
Yes, sir.
Before we dive in, how you been?
Been good, bro. Life is good. I got married not too long ago, so I'm experiencing a new life, a new journey, and I'm just fully stepping into it, bro.
That's what's up. You still in the honeymoon stages of your
I
marriage?
tell my wife all the time, what honeymoon phase? Like we met, I feel like when we started dating early on, we had a honeymoon phase, but God started making us work immediately.
That is what's up. So, man, when you introduced yourself, you said, you was an investor.
Yep,
I always thought about you as a developer.
got you.
Tell me, what do you think you are in your own words, and what's the difference?
What I think I am in my own words is I'm a problem solver and I'm a builder at heart. So everything that I integrate myself in, I'm always thinking about how can I process improve something, how can I find the opportunities, how can I solve it. But at the heart, the things that bring joy to my heart and the things that I'm excited about, it really always comes down to building. Like, remember when we were kids and we had the Legos and you wanted to build the spaceships? I enjoyed those moments. I remember when, I would take apart the doorknob to see how things work. And so for me, I'm really a builder at heart, but in the terms of developer or investing, right? Um, I consider myself both. Um, but the term developer is really taking vacant land and increasing the value, taking vacant land and turning it into something that never existed. Real estate investing, I would consider, is basically something that was already there, but we're just improving it.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. I like that. So, in your own words, if you was describing what you do to a novice, how would you describe what you do?
I would say I create value by fixing up blighted property and providing it to an end buyer that's looking to provide a single family home for their family.
And we're in one of your properties now, aren't we?
Yeah.
And then what are you doing with this property?
So this is gonna be, I'm torn right now. And so I'm constantly thinking about legacy and wealth building and the generational wealth, right? But if I, most fix and flip strategies are short-term strategies. So I'm meant to make a lot of money in a short period of time. And so this, if I fix and flip it, then my kids will never be able to reap the benefits of it. And so now I'm in a place of really rethinking my strategy and figuring out how to turn this into a passive asset that generates me cash flow every month. I get equity, and then I also be able to, get a great return on my investment.
So the thinking behind it has more to do with the long-term play of it, what's something you can leave and pass down.
Absolutely.
Okay, that
That's,
makes a lot of
that's
sense.
I'm always thinking about the next generations, not even my kids, but I'm thinking about generations that I'll never be able to meet. These kids will never meet me, right? But they'll still be able to benefit from the foundation things that I did back when I was alive.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I feel very similar and want to leave a legacy to my kids. I
Yeah.
want to I want to be that granddad when they be later like, our whole fortunes changed because of my granddad.
Literally, like they got you over the mantle in this big, huge picture, and they just thank you every time they see you. Like, thanks, granddad, for doing what you did, because now we get to reap the benefits.
No, that makes a lot of sense. How did you get started into real estate in the first place?
I got started into real estate just by being curious and really looking for opportunity. This is how I started to figure out what I was good at. Um, when I graduated, I went to college. I got a degree in engineering, and I said, okay, right. I know engineering is gonna pay a nice wage. I know I can provide for my family, but what happens when this job no longer needs me, right? Then what do I do? Am I just gonna be, going job to job trying to figure out how to provide my family, or do I get a skill set that in times of any trouble that I could then go learn how to fish and go make some money for my family. So I was just curious. I said, all right, I don't know how to do it, and I don't know what it looks like. So you can imagine someone that's being curious, you know, I'm looking at all different kind of industries, like just stuff that I just had no business being involved in. And I found real estate. And I found real estate because a family friend exposed me to it. They were buying real estate, right, probably for a couple of years now. And they just saw I was interested. And just by me being a little bit interested and a little bit curious, they just kind of started telling me different stuff. And they told me, said, hey, you know, you can buy houses for, this is back in the day, right? Back in the day, it's like 2015, 16. He's like, yeah, you could buy houses for $500 to $1,000. You should save up your money because in the next 6 months, there's going to be an auction that comes up. And I said, is it? And so in my little, wisdom, my little information, I just took action. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't have this long-term vision, this long-term business plan, this long-term strategy. I knew the next thing for me to do was to go save up some money. I couldn't tell you how I was about to go buy this house. I couldn't tell you how I was gonna fix it. And so by me just being able to put the next brick in front of the next brick, I didn't have a foundation. So I'm like, okay, I'm making money. And so when I started learning that, no, this is something I can really be beneficial, not for just me and my family, I started just to constantly figure out how to get more information, more knowledge, more wisdom to do bigger and better deals.
Do you remember how much money you saved up?
I saved up like $4,500. And let me tell you how I saved it, right? And so for anybody that's looking to save money, the best thing to do is to have it out of sight, out of mind. So it can't be somewhere where you can see it. So if I can open my phone and see I got X amount of savings, that's too close. You want to have it somewhere where you cannot see it on a daily basis. And so I had an envelope. I had a little money envelope where I would take $400 every check and just put it in there and just put it back in the closet. I can't see it every day. I'm using my debit card to pay for stuff, and I'm only managing, what I have remaining after the 400. So I'm not counting the 400 no more. And by the time I looked up, I had about $4,500. And I'm like, okay. I did a good job, right? And so, that allowed me to just go figure out what I can buy with it.
So do you remember your first deal?
Yeah, I remember every deal.
Every deal.
Every deal.
Now, how many deals you done so far?
Man, I had to do 50 plus transactions.
Okay. And you remember your first one?
My first one, I bought 2 houses on my first deal. I bought 2 houses on the same block.
Okay. So your first deal was 2 deals at once.
2 deals at once.
All right, go
because
ahead.
I had $4,500, and these houses only cost $500 to $1,000. So yeah, I can get 2, right? What's the risk? I've already saved it up. I don't need that money no more anyway. Well, at least I'm not accounting for the money. And I bought 2 houses on the same block. And the first house I bought, when I got the deed, we went to the property and somebody was living in it. Like, just imagine, like, now I get excited about stuff like that. I feel like I hit the gold mine if I find a property that's somebody living in it and they willing to pay rent. That's a gold mine. But at the time, I'm like, I'm almost kind of confused on what we do now. Like, somebody's living there, but it's mine. So like, how do I have the conversation? So what we ultimately did was, we made contact with the person that lived there and basically made a deal with them. Whatever situation the last owner had with them, they didn't know, right? So it was unfortunate that the house that they actually thought that they were renting, the home, the previous owner lost. So I said, look, I'll sell it back to you. And so we bought it for $1,200 and we sold it back to him for $10,000.
Okay.
That was my first deal. And then the second property, bought it for another $1,200. And what happened was we sold that property back to him, right, for $10,000. and he
And how
had
much you bought that one for?
that was $1,200.
So you bought both of them for $1,200.
So like $2,500. Then you got the taxes and water bill. So it probably came out to like $3,800, right? But we sold the house back to the current tenant for $10,000. And at the time, right, if I only spent $1,200 to make 10, that's almost 10 times your money. That's a no-brainer. Give it here, right? Right. In hindsight, I would have held that property because you can't buy houses for $1,200 today. But for the fortunate thing that happened about that opportunity is that the current tenant had a brother, and his brother was looking for a house to live in. And his brother fixed up houses. So the other house was in a lot worse condition than this house. But he said, look, I'll give you $7,500 for it. And so I just made $17,000, and I spent 38 roughly $3,800 to buy these houses. And so for me, I said, okay, we got something here. Like, I ain't know what it was. We got something here. And you know, most people will find it hard to start, but I actually my first two houses I bought. I'm from Detroit, right? But my first two houses I bought, I lived in Texas.
Okay.
So I didn't live here when I bought those first two properties. I came home and this all happened over Thanksgiving, Christmas. That time span.
Do you remember how old you were?
I was back in 2015. I was 25 years old.
And you was in college, right?
I had just graduated.
Just graduated, but you were still living in Texas.
Yep.
So how was that feeling? You spend roughly $2,800, and now you know made. I forgot you said 10 on one house. Well, you didn't make, but you flipped into 10 on one house, 10 on the next house. So you essentially spent $2,800 and came home with 20.
Yeah.
How did that feel as a 25-year-old out of town?
That I figured it out. Right? My whole goal was to solve a problem. How do I make money outside of my corporate job? I just did it. Now I got the blueprint. Yeah, now okay, this actually works because I was telling a friend of mine this recently. A lot of times, although we may do stuff, you have a little bit of doubt. Mm-hmm. You like, right? I'm gonna move out of faith and uncertain about the outcome, but I'm praying that it works. Mm-hmm. And so when it actually works, you've now convinced yourself that you can actually do this thing full-fledged, and you can go make a lot of money doing it.
So did you just take that? You got these first two deals, said, "Now I'm quitting my job," and that's it?
Absolutely not.
So
I ain't that crazy. Nah, absolutely not. I still have a full-time job, and I think for those people that want to be a full-time entrepreneur but have a full-time job, I think you should be a good steward over your time and over your money, right? A lot of times it's not about, the titles don't matter. It's really about, are you being productive? Because you got 24 hours. And that's how I looked at it. I said, why leave this good paying job when they're paying me consistently, and then I can go leverage what they're paying me to go then make more investments to make more money. And what I had to fix was just being better with my time and being more productive, being more, being able to prioritize things, and actually just being able to say no to a lot of stuff and focus on the things that's a priority. And if you do that, like it's very well doable and very well easy.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I don't know a kid that was like, when I grow up, I want to do real estate.
Yeah.
What did you want to be when you was a kid?
I actually didn't know. Right? I think, I know. I was a bit of a careless kid. And so I wasn't thinking far enough in the future in regards to what my life will look like and how my life will plan out. And if I would be married and if I would go to college and I would go to school. That stuff happened, later in my teen years. So growing up, I was just more of a kid being a kid, but not aware of the life things that I should be mindful of, because one day I won't be a kid, and one day I will have real responsibility, and one day I have a family, and one day I have a wife. So it took me all the way up into probably my senior year to start taking my life serious.
What type of kid was you?
I was a good kid, but I was an impressionable kid, and you know, I found myself hanging around individuals in different crowds that really didn't align with me, but I was just in that environment. So for me, I'm good at anything. You put me anywhere, I'm gonna just be good at it. So you put me in an environment where kids are, being bad, I'm gonna just go be a good bad kid. I'm gonna be good at being bad. I was good at sports. And so I was easily, having some identity things going on as a younger kid. I was easily impressionable. I didn't have a lot of good role models to role model what, the ideal man should look like for me. And it took me a while to see that, but I had to make some really accountable responsibility decisions early on in life to say, no, I just want more. And I didn't know what more was early on. I just knew it wasn't what I had.
Had.
I'm like, this ain't it. I don't know what it is, but this ain't it.
That ain't it. What was growing up in your household like?
Two parents, loving parents, two sisters. We had a good household. I'm like, I love telling my story because I hear the story when people tell the zero story, and then like I came from nothing. I did not come from nothing. I had two parents, two household. They loved me. They took care of me. They were always at the whatever I was involved in. My parents was there, right? I had two sisters. I'm the middle child, and I have really good relationships with them. So I grew up well. I just, I was almost ungrateful of what I had, and so I'm gonna go out in the environment and do all these foolish things that I think I need to do. I don't even need to.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, as kids, we were way more impressionable with our friends doing what
Yeah.
everybody else doing versus what you got going on inside the house. Um, would you describe yourself as more of a quiet kid or more of a adventurous kid?
I think people would call me more of a quiet kid because I didn't need to make a lot of noise. I had two sisters, so I spent a lot of time with myself and alone. So you can call that quiet, but I did a lot of thinking as a kid. Right? I was always just curious of how things work. So you may look at me and see I'm a quiet kid, but I'm in my head, I'm thinking, I'm strategizing, I'm trying to figure out how this thing works, how life works. Um, but I definitely, although in probably my quietness, I was I was also adventurous.
Okay.
So you would find me climbing a tree. You would find me flipping off a fence, flipping off a garage, right? Um, but I would say I probably was just, one of those kids that I can be alone and I don't need to be around a bunch of people.
What type of music did you listen to when you was a kid? Like, who was your favorite artist? I'm talking, let's go like middle school, early high school.
Middle school DMX.
DMX?
Yep.
Why DMX?
It's just something about his music, man. And also Young Jeezy. I think Young Jeezy probably happened towards the end of my high school career. But early on, um, it was just something about his music, something about his energy. I don't even know what he was talking about. Couldn't relate, right? But what I did learn early on is I love when people are great at whatever they do. And I just thought that the album I was listening to was orchestrated so well. And I was like, this is really good. I'm like, he really put this together. And that's probably because I just was exposed to him. I would say like that was some of my early exposure to music was DMX. And then that was the environment I was in, right? I don't listen to a lot of rap music right now. I can't tell you what's the hottest rap song right now. I can't. Right? I'm clueless.
What do you listen to now?
I like to attune my ears to things more positive. So most of the music I listen to have more of a like positive tone behind them, right? I wouldn't say like I actually like the Christ rap music. I think some of it is hot. You know what I mean? Like if you really look at some of the Christ rap songs, you can almost find every person that is in the rap industry. There's almost an identical person for them on the godly side,
Okay.
and most of them on the godly side can actually rap. They
You
can.
got a favorite one?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a couple favorite. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Caleb, that's an artist. Hovey, that's an artist. I just found about this another guy named Tommy. And what it does for me though, right? This is when I became more conscious and self-aware of who Darius was. Because I started to listen to that other kind of music. and subconsciously it was programming me to think and act and do things that way, right? So how, trying to live a godly life and then listening to that music, it's contrary because you're going to be inundated with things that they're downloading in you, and then subconsciously you're going to start thinking that you could do those things, which it don't align. And so I always try to constantly keep aligning to things that I'm listening to, where I'm headed and where I'm at right now. Like keep me positive, keep my spirits uplifted. Like I used to go through a lot of depression and anxiety and like all of those negative emotions. And I'm not gonna say music was it, right? I had other stuff going on, but I think that contributed. So now I just attune my ears to the positive music to keep myself in uplifted spirits.
They say, as the kids say nowadays, you got to protect your energy.
Yes,
You got to protect your energy. So,
all times, bro.
it makes a lot of sense. You mentioned that you grew up as the only boy with two sisters.
Yeah.
How was it like growing up with two sisters, and do you see any effects of that now in your current life?
It was a tremendous benefit to me. Most men, if you haven't had interactions with women, early on in life or a lot of interactions with them, the first time you interact with them, you may feel shy, anxious, anxiety. You may not know how to interact with them because you've had little experience with them. And so what it has done for me, it allowed me to really have, organic relationships with women and not have no intentions behind them because I had two sisters and I had to, I loved them, and when they needed me, I was there, and when we wanted to have conversations, we could talk about certain things. So what it helped me to do is really just, appreciate women in a different light, appreciate their skill sets, appreciate their contributions, and really learn how to understand and love them because women ain't men and men ain't women, right? The moment you try to blur those two lines and think that they are the same, you in trouble. You in trouble.
No, that is real talk. I think anything that you do in your childhood, we don't understand the advantages that it gives us.
That's good.
Later on in life. But there's so many different things. To your point, you used the word ungrateful. That I feel the same way in my life. I felt until I had my own kid. I was like, I took for granted some of these moments. You know what I mean? So I can definitely understand that go. Is there a moment as a kid that set you on the path you're on now, like an after-school program or anything like that?
So there was two moments. The first moment was an after-school program, and I think I wasn't even supposed to be there. This is how God worked. I wasn't even supposed to be there. My parents was running late to pick me up from school, and they was just like, "Yeah, go hang out, by the gym." By the gym, they were actually doing science projects and building stuff, right? This is how I started to figure out that I actually like building. And, they ended up telling my mom that he gonna stay for the such and such. Don't worry about it. Just come get him, when you can, when you get here. This is what time it's over. So I stayed for one session. And in that session, we were building a bridge. And I was actually good at it. I was actually good. I could think it through. I had the best bridge.
And it's your first time in there?
First time building a bridge. And they was like, oh, okay. They was like, and this is why exposure is important, because before building that bridge, never thought about it. Never had an even inclination of this was a career opportunity for me. And they said, yeah, this is what engineers do. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, all right, cool. And in that moment, I never took another engineering class.
Okay, how old were you then?
I was in elementary.
Elementary.
So I can't tell you exactly how old I was, but I was young. And so when I got to middle school, never took another engineering course or after school, nothing. When I got to high school, never took another nothing. But this seed that was planted in me in elementary stuck. And it just kept growing and kept growing and kept growing. And by the time, and I got an interesting story about how I got to college, but by the time I got to college, and they was like, hey, you gotta tell us what you want to pick a major. I'm like, pick a major? What?
I thought you was gonna tell me.
Yeah, like I thought, what? I gotta tell you what I want to go be. I don't even know yet. And so they gave us the list of majors. I'm literally looking through them like I'm clueless. But I remember engineering, and I told them, I said, oh yeah, here go the engineers right here. So I looked through all the engineers, bro, and they tell me what they all do, and I picked mechanical. It's like mechanical is the motion of things. You're actually building things. You're actually understanding how things work. That's it. I don't know nothing. I just knew I liked Legos as a kid. I knew I built the bridge. I knew I liked taking things apart, and I knew I was curious. I just knew that that was what I needed to be doing, engineering, and I did it. The second moment was, I tell people all the time that God had his hands on my life even when I didn't acknowledge it, or even when I didn't have a relationship with him, right? And so all the way up to my senior year, I just played, right? I was brilliant kid. I'm gonna tell you how brilliant I was. I was so brilliant. I knew how to get just the right score to be able to play football. I knew how to do just enough. I wasn't gonna do no extra, but I'm gonna do just enough so that I can get that two on the spot, on the nose. I'm gonna get a 2.5 on the nose, which makes me eligible for football.
And that was it.
That was it. I wasn't doing no extra. Wasn't trying to get no A's. And something really happened, and I'm still figuring this out. I can't really explain it, like, cause it's still I'm still living it. But God just kind of uncircumcised my eyes and woke me up, and like He just put something in me, and I was like, and I started to be more self-aware. I started to be more conscious, and I'm like, and I had asked myself, like, I almost was upsetting myself that I was getting 2.5s when I became. This is my last year. I said 2.5. What is this? Like I wasn't the person doing it. And literally, I'm like, okay, enough of that. Literally 3.7, 3.8, back to back to back to back. I'm bringing report cards home. Parents like,
who work is this?
Yeah, like what's going on, right? But those were the two pivotal moments that happened. And so when I understand that God was giving me a second chance and He was asking, I didn't know, again, I can say this now that God was doing this. I can't say it then, but I can say that I was aware that I had a second opportunity to do something that was put on my heart to do.
You speak a lot about God and God being in your life and Him having view over your life, even when you wasn't necessarily connected with Him.
Yep.
What does your faith mean to you outside of business? How does it show up in your everyday life?
Faith can't even show up outside of business for me. Like faith is who I am. Everything that I do is off faith. Everything. I don't know what the next day gonna look like. I don't know what my job gonna look like. I don't know what the next opportunity gonna look like. All I'm doing is being led by discernment and the Holy Spirit and God telling me what to go do. And so for me, it just comes down to being obedient. I ain't gotta know what the end of this path is, but if I'm told to do it, I need to go do it. I tell people this story. I had prayed to God about correcting my finances at one point in time, and I was decent, but I knew that I was over leveraged and over capitalized, and I was just a check to check, right? If anybody that lives check to check, you know that's a terrible feeling. Like as soon as that money come in, it's basically gone, right?
It's spent before it even hit your account,
right? Or you waiting for the money to come in because you negative 400 on the account, and then it's still gone. And I asked God to correct my finances, and He told me a hard truth. And He's like, sell your house. My own house. Like, cause that's gonna set you free. Like I positioned you to buy it. Now you understand why I'm telling you to say it. Sell it 2 years later. Because you bought it, you fixed it up, right? Now you got a ton of equity into it. Now it's worth something. Now you're gonna take that and pay that debt off. And I was telling one of my best friends that I ain't got the secret. I just been doing what God's been telling me this whole time. That's how I got to where I'm at. It ain't no secret sauce. It ain't no special equation. It ain't no special strategy. I just been doing what He been telling me to do and being okay with however it turn out.
Do you find it easy for you to follow? So God tell you, you a young man doing well for yourself in the eyes of everybody else. Yep. You got this house. Sell this house. You just like, all right, God, I'm gonna go ahead and just sell it because you said so. It's just that easy.
Yes, it was. And And I'm gonna tell you why it can be hard for people.
Mm-hmm.
Because you value these worldly possessions more than you value God.
Do you think they feel that way? Or because so when a person say they hear from God, that's faith within itself, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because you technically don't know that
Yes.
you're hearing from God, right?
Yes.
So that's faith within itself. So what if they say, well, that was the devil telling you to sell your house?
Did you pray about it? Was you convicted in your heart about it? I ain't saying it's one thing. He ain't just saying I did it. No, you did ask that question. He ain't just saying I did it. I prayed about it. I prayed about it. I looked at the scriptures. What does scripture say about being over leveraged and being in debt? Because they don't say nothing good about being in debt. So you start to you just weigh it, and you just weigh it against the scriptures, weigh it against prayer, weigh it against being convicted, and it's like everything is telling me is right. Now it's just up to me to do the thing that I need to do.
Sounds good. I knew it had to be a little bit more to it.
Yeah,
Some prayer had to be in there, some scripture,
some
something.
wise counsel,
Yeah.
right?
Wise counsel is
God
always
put people in
important.
our lives for a reason, and back to what I was saying earlier about the worldly possessions. I can't remember exactly what book this in. But there's a story about a guy that was doing everything God was asking him to do, like following the laws, all of that. And Christ, he asked Christ, like, well, what else should I do, Christ? And he was like, sell everything and come follow me. That's the exact same thing he was like, he said, no, I can't do that. Man, I can't do that. I can't sell everything and follow you. Everything that I've worked hard, everything that I worked hard for, everything that I did to obtain this amass of wealth, you want me to give it away? Because we think it's us. We think we did it. I'm never confused to say, yeah, I'm just that good. I'm not. I'm not that good, bro.
Footprints in the sand.
You say what?
Footprints in the
That
sand.
part. I'm just following his steps. I'm not that good.
When you're not working or building something, what makes you feel most alive?
I'm a seeker. So I just like to constantly get better. And not to say that I'm a person that is like overbearing to myself and don't give myself any grace and don't, all I want to do is I'm just someone that constantly want to be fed. And I'm constantly want to learn something. I'm constantly curious how things going on. So for me, in my free time, I'm just figuring out other stuff. I'm just learning. Like I'm literally just constantly sharpening my sword, how to be a better father. I ain't even a father yet. How to be a father when how to be a husband, how to be a better son, how to be a better investor, right? If it's something that happened in the market, I don't take things on face value. I'm curious enough to go, that's what you said? Okay, I'm gonna go research it and learn something about it. And I honestly I enjoy it's not a chore or a task for me to read the Bible
Okay.
because those stories are the wisdom. Those stories are the knowledge. And so for me, it's not a chore, it's an opportunity to get better. And when I read stories, right, I got this, God gave me vision. And so when I read, I can see. I can see what I'm reading as if it's real time live.
Okay.
So I'm reenacting what I'm reading in my head. And so I got a vivid image of the story, which gives me like now I can look at it from a totally different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Imagine when, Moses was at the Red Sea and he had to cross. Like imagine what was going on. Like you reading the text, but imagine what was really going outside the text. It had to be chaos. Right? They chasing y'all and y'all get to the river and y'all trying to figure out how to cross. And everybody's doubting the plan now. And people like, we gonna die. We should just went back. These are things you're gonna experience in life. You're gonna experience doubt. You're gonna experience wanting to turn around. You're gonna experience heartbreak. You're gonna experience things not going your way. And these stories give us insight to how to overcome it. Everything started with God though. Everything started with them leaning on God, and then there's other tools and characteristics that happen, that they got from it. But that's where it started. And so I'm mindful that anything that's happening in my life, I just go right back to God. And I go right back to the scriptures and be like, oh, it's easy.
There it is right there.
Yeah, there it is right
It's
there.
almost like it's a blueprint.
Man, literally anything you want to know about life, just go read the stories. It's so much in them, man.
That is hilarious. So on your free time, your fun time,
Yeah.
you just doing more work. You doing more research.
Some people would say that.
More of that. You're not skiing. You're not bowling. You're not golfing.
Yeah, so, all right, I do love to travel, right? I do love to travel. I do love to spend time with my family. I do love activities. I do love to ski, right? I enjoy skiing. I think skiing is, but it all starts with me just wanting to be exposed and learn new things, right? So I never skied before, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I was just like, listen, I just want to see. I just want to see what that is. I'm just curious. And so everything that I'm constantly seeking, and even my fun, the way my brain is wired, I'm really just figuring out how to best optimize whatever I'm doing. Like for example, we went to this place called Activate, which is a place for basically, it was for kids but grown adults, like to go have fun like a kid. And in those moments, I was having a ball, but the way my brain is wired, I'm still in there solving problems on how to beat. Like I came in second the first time. How do I come in first? I get excited by thinking about stuff like that. Cause now you think about, all right, if what you did last time got you in second, what you gotta do this time to get you in first?
You ever see that? It was Will Smith telling a story about him talking to his son,
Mm-hmm.
and his son said he was going to average a 4.0 or average A or something like that. And he's like, no, you can't. And he's like, what you mean? He's like, I already get B's. He was like, because you think going from a B to an A is just going up one notch.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, going from a B into averaging an A, it's a whole different level.
Yes.
It's a whole different thing he went into. And that's what reminded me of when you just said that.
Yeah, that's cool.
That makes a lot of sense. So what drew you into skiing, and what was like your first kind of your first experience with skiing? Was you a pro as soon as you hopped on the slope?
Absolutely not. Skiing is one of them things that will humble you fast. Like as soon as you step down on them skis, you're humbled. And so we went skiing. We got to the top of the mountain, and you get to the top of the mountain by a lift. So they're carrying you up there. The sun was up when we got to the top of the mountain. The sun was setting by the time we got down the mountain. So just picture that. That's how long it took us to get down that mountain. And it was challenging and it was tough. But in the toughness, it was so much joy and so much laughter. Like we laughed the whole way home of how hard it was. But me, I love a challenge. Okay, that was hard. Now how do I, right? I got down. Now I know how to get down. So before we left, I went back up and came right back down. It wasn't perfect, but it was a little bit better than that last time. Right?
1% better.
Right? I fell down probably twice, but then I started figuring out, okay. And that's what life is about though. Like these are fundamental things that is teaching me about life, that you may not have all the answers. Right? You may not know what something is the first time you do it, but then what do? You give up? No, you put them skis back on and you try again. And what happens is that you get better. Even if it's small increments, you just get better and better and better and better. I even got to the point where I try to snowboard. I can snowboard. I just don't like the snowboard. Like that ain't like I'm not crazy. I'm like that's kind of hard. I can actually, if somebody betted me to go like snowboard down that mountain, I could do it. But I like the skis better. I like putting on the skis. And so it just taught me that you can really do anything if you're willing to put enough time, effort, and patience into it.
If I had Michael J. Fox time machine and I can go back in time, I'd probably do some skiing. But with my knees back and everything else, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that one alone.
Yeah, you could, because it's gonna hurt you. Trust me. I took the wife skiing, and man, I was almost scared to see her fall a couple times. Like I almost want. You ever seen those TV shows when they come down the helicopter and like put them in a
Yeah,
and strap them down? I felt like it was a couple of them. I'm like, dang, she fell hard, but she got back up, and now she kind of like it too. Like her first time was rough, but her third time was easy.
that's what's
You know
up.
what I mean?
So that's something nice y'all can do and enjoy together.
Yeah,
That makes a lot
it's
of
my
sense.
thing though. I'm gonna call it what
Yeah.
it's my thing.
What's a moment in your real estate journey that made you stop and feel proud? Like this is a big deal.
That's a good one. I feel proud every time I get a deal done. And not just a deal done, but the moment of proud happened. The first time this moment happened is when I bought um like those first couple of properties I told you I bought, I just sold them. So I didn't fix them up. I didn't do nothing to them. I just bought them and sold them as is. But there was one property I bought and I spent some time and I spent some love and I spent some money. And there was challenge and there was obstacles. And literally what you see now was in similar condition. And we finished it. And I didn't know how to finish was gonna look, but I just knew we was gonna finish it. And when I finished it, I had this sense of proudness over me. I just felt good about myself. Like, wow, we turned a place into something that nobody wanted at one point in time. But now somebody's willing to pay me for it. Like, forget the money. I just was proud to see that, hey, we can actually transform these things that actually don't look good the first time you see them, but you can then transfer them into something that is desirable and people will pay you for it. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's dope. I can imagine. Previous to doing video for real estate investors, etc. I seen a house like this. I'd be running. And I remember going to a house that was burnt down. The real estate investor was like, "Oh, this is a great house." I'm like, "What house? What house is this?" But then you understand the process, what it go through, and then obviously that's where all the money made. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Um, what's your process when you're looking at a property or a project? What do you see that you think others might not?
Value, opportunity, right? Some people thinking about how much money they gotta spend, how challenging something may be. I'm thinking about the opportunities. What can I gain? Not out of money. Like, this is a new project I can learn from. And so when I'm looking at projects, I'm always figuring out, how can we create a product that is desirable and transformative at the same time? And I think some people are just numbers driven. The numbers don't make sense. It don't make sense. I am thinking about the numbers, but I am also thinking about the value, the energy, the effort, my team. I got a team of guys that really work good together. And, the more opportunities I can provide them to constantly work good together and build their stronger relationship. And also, indirectly, I'm helping them feed their families. So I'm thinking about all of these different things. So I call the same individuals to work on my projects. I want to keep putting money in your pocket as long as we got a good relationship.
Makes sense. Keep the money flowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I take you,
Yep.
right, and you can't have none of your resources, and I
Gotcha.
drop you off in a brand new city, brand new state,
Mm-hmm.
far from Detroit, nobody there.
Yep.
And only thing you got in your pocket is $500.
Gotcha.
How would you get back into the real estate game?
And do I still got my knowledge?
You got everything in here. You just can't take your resources with you. So you can't call the same contractors. You can't
It's
call other
easy.
investors.
It's
You are in a
easy.
brand new city. What you got for me?
So at the cornerstone of everything you just talked about is relationships. That's the cornerstone of it. That's the foundation thing you need to have. And what I would do is if I had $500, I would look for opportunities to network with individuals and build strong relationships. And when I mean strong relationships, I'm not talking about getting to know them and I need you to come work tomorrow. No, I'm talking about building rapport, getting to know them, getting to know their visions, getting to know their goals in life. Because what happens is what benefits me is that I align myself to people's vision and their goals. So whatever they're doing for me is already aligned to what they was gonna be doing anyway. I just inserted myself. And so it works out that way. And I will focus really on building good relationships. Even for if that, like that's the example with a contractor, but if I had an example with someone that was a high net worth individual that had access to capital, right? As I'm building that relationship, I'm getting to know them. I'm getting to know what their interest is. I'm getting to know, what their investment portfolio looks like and what their return of their investment is, right? And a lot of times, if I got the same knowledge and I understand what your investment portfolio looks like because we got a good relationship now, we can talk transparently about finances, and you tell me, hey, I'm getting X, I'm getting 8% ROI. I'm more than confident if I bring you an opportunity that's getting 15%, you're gonna take it.
Yeah.
And so knowledge and relationship, man, and just taking action, that's all I need. I can start from zero.
How long do you think it'll take you to get your first deal?
I would probably say first deal, anywhere between 3 to 6 months. I'm in a market that I'm not familiar with, probably 3 months. I could say easily 3 months. Not even six, easily 3 months. Because I'm the type of person that, maybe even sooner, to be honest. But that's what grace, 3 months. But I'm the type of person that anything I involve myself in, there's always high momentum at the front, right? If we just use an example of pushing a boulder up a hill, I'm gonna push that boulder up the hill as hard as I can until we get to the top. Because when they get to the top, we can just roll it down. And that's my vision for anything that I involve myself in. I'm always going to constantly start with high energy, high momentum, high activity, because that's how you start. The more seeds you sow, the more you harvest. So I'm gonna sow a bunch of seeds and just watch how they harvest.
If your real estate career had a theme song, what song would it be playing?
A theme song? That's a good one. A theme song. If my real estate career had a theme song, that's a really good one. I know a lot of songs, and I'm trying to think about. I probably would say, Marathon. Yeah.
Marathon by.
Nipsey Hussle. Yeah. And I just thought about it, like, you know, literally, I have started this thing from nothing. Started it, stopped it, broke it, right? Tore it all down, rebuilt it, tore it all down again, hired a mentor, you know, went to go work for a firm that's doing bigger. Like I've constantly evolved the thing that I didn't even think that I would be this passionate about when I first started investing. So that's what I mean a marathon. It's just constantly just being happy with the journey, man. And I'm not looking for a destination. I tell wifey this all the time. There's no place I'm waiting to get to. I'm just this is it for me.
I'm just going.
I'm just going.
If you can have one superpower,
Yeah.
but it couldn't be mind reading,
Mm-hmm.
that would make you a better real estate investor or developer, what would that superpower be?
Ooh. A superpower that would make me a better I could duplicate myself. If I could duplicate myself, there would be people working behind us. And I'm doing it. I'm doing an interview. There's somebody out there looking at deals. Somebody out there going to raise capital, and they all follow my lead. They do what I say, man. Bro, I'm really imagining all the stuff that I could get done.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
That is a great one.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. If I handed you an empty city block
Yep.
and told you to build anything, no budget, no rules,
Yeah.
what would you build and who would it be for?
What I would build is I would align myself. If it's an empty city block, that means it's within a community. So I would align myself to the community values and the community goals, to the people that live there. I would be super mindful about, not just building anything for anybody, but building something for the people that actually will be living in this community and want to live in this community. And so that's my thought process around it, right? Depending on if it's residential or if it's commercial, right? If it's residential, I probably would build some form of, um, depending on the market, I would build some form of condominium housing, something that, gives people a sense of self and sense of ownership. And if it's, commercial, I'm just gonna build as many units as I can for that specific space. But the mythology and the thought process around it isn't about what Darius desires and about what I want. It's about what the community wants, what's gonna best fit this community, and how do we be able to create something that, doesn't disrupt the community, but actually helps integrate it all together.
What's something in your life you still want to accomplish that you haven't checked off yet?
Having kids. Like, I was just telling somebody that yesterday, man. I said, I'm actually looking forward to having kids, knowing that it ain't my time. Knowing I'm okay. It's not my time just yet. But I'm looking forward to the day I have someone that I could give what I have to them. I can literally give you everything I have. Everything that's up here, right? I can give it to my wife too, and I do. But I can give it to you, and you then could take it and mold it and build and create something with it.
See, I 100% agree with you on that. It's a good thing you said you practice patience, because what's even more frustrating is when you have something to give to your kid and they don't want it.
Oh, they don't want it. Like, nah.
You're like, you know how much easier your life could be if you just listen?
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah. Nope. I don't want that. I'm gonna do my own thing. And I gotta be okay with that. Right. And I know that's gonna be a hard pill to swallow. But I pray that, God gives me whatever I need in that moment to be patient and to be still helpful. But I do also pray that at least one of them kids, you know what I mean? At least one of them kids get it. Like, I got you, Pops. I'm gonna take it with you. Because, man, it's just easier. You know, I didn't listen all the time. And I made my life harder. I'm like literally made it harder. And so if I could help you cut corners, and I pray God give me the words to deliver it the right way, right? The right tone, right? Because all of that matters, right? When people are trying to receive information. So I just pray that God give me, those things that go along with the wisdom and knowledge to be able to pour into my children, and then they get it. They're gonna bump their head, they're gonna make mistakes. I was telling my wife, I said, you're gonna be the one that's trying to like prevent everything from happening. And I'm gonna be like, they okay. Like that child is in a confined environment. Let them bump their head. They can go back and forth to the wall, however they see fit. They're not gonna kill themselves, but I can't save you from everything. And I'm aware of that.
Yeah, you actually put them in more harm trying to save them from everything because they don't know how to deal with anything. And then life inevitably is hard. So when things start to get hard, they're always looking for an outlet of somebody to save me or somebody else's fault. And that's a path you just definitely want to go down. So I think you got the right mindset.
You're going to be a dependent. You're basically making somebody dependent on you for the rest of their life. Exactly. So when something go wrong, I'm going to call my dad. I'm going to call my dad. I'm going to call my mom. But then, because this is inevitable. I gotta die someday. Your mama gonna die someday. And then if we gone, you just screwed.
Or they just latch on to the next person. They make their mother and father figure.
Yeah.
So, I'm with you on that.
We gotta build individuals that understand how to work within the community.
True. Do you have any current projects or properties you're working on now that you're excited about?
This one we sitting in. This one is a 4-bedroom, 1 full bathroom, 2 half bathrooms, approximately 800 to 200 square feet. Has a basement. The basement will be finished, and we bought it out of probate. And this property, we bought it about 2 weeks ago, and I got the guys in here working already. We're in mid construction. I think that we'll be done with this project probably in the next 30 to 45 days easily. And the goal is to, right, we're always thinking about, when we're designing these homes, we're thinking about the functionality of the space and the desirability of it. So everything that we're putting in every place is going to be, how does it function? How will someone use it? Will they desire this? Do they desire this look? Will they desire this aesthetic? And a lot of that is based off of historical information and data. Like we know what works in the past, and then we're gonna compare it to what we see on the data in the marketplace today, because we can never be confined to what we did in the past to say it gotta work today. That ain't how it worked, right? We gotta be constantly forward thinking in our vision and our strategies. And one of the forward thinkings we did on this project is we turned a half bathroom that had 2 adjacent closets into a full bathroom, which would be a full master bathroom, which would be an ensuite for the master bathroom. So anybody that's living in this house, someone that buy this house will have a family, which means that those kids will need to use the bathroom just like you do. And if I'm a parent, I don't want to share a bathroom with my kids. Y'all got your own bathroom. Go in your bathroom, and I'm gonna go to my bathroom. That way you can manage the stress level in the house. And so we're thinking about that as we're designing these houses. How do we make this half bathroom in the master bedroom actually a full bathroom, so that you can have everything you need in your little space, and you ain't got to be stepping over your kids' clothes. You ain't got to be picking up after your kids every little thing because you're trying to get in the bathroom.
For someone who wants to work with you, whether it's buying, building, or investing, what's the best way for him to start a conversation with you?
Um, we can talk about God all day. Like that's just what I love. Like this don't come before God. But most of my partners, most of my team, they're believers. Most of the people I have around me, they're believers. Not to say you can't be a believer. I'm not saying that, but that's just something that like I just enjoy to talk about. I love to talk about the Bible. I love to talk about the stories. I love to really see what you thought about the story because I was thinking this way. And then, outside of that, I'm really personable. I'm really, we can just talk about anything, like get to know me, because that's my approach. I don't approach people with opportunities. I approach people as, how your day going? How everything going? How the family doing? What's going on? What you into? What your interests are? And then if I find some similarities, I can then start aligning to what I already do. They just should be aligning to my life. Like, oh, you in real estate? Oh, okay. Like I do real estate too, and I got this thing I'm working on. Versus, you know, you're trying to talk to me about AI. And I like AI, but I'm not an AI guru. I'm not an AI expert. So we could talk about it, but I have nothing to give you. There's no opportunities for me for you over here in AI. But without having that conversation, without getting to know people and know what they're interested in, you just throwing darts in the dark, hoping you hit a target, and most of the time you won't.
Makes sense. Where can people find you online or follow what you're working on?
All my social media platforms are Darius, the regular way, not 2 R's, not an apostrophe. Darius, the letter D, Barrett as in boy, Barrett on all social media platforms. I post educational content. I post my projects. Everything that I'm doing is to constantly feed people, and go check out the channel. I hope people can glean from it and be like, oh, I didn't know. That was something that I learned from basically I was talking about. So you can find me on all platforms.
Perfect. We're going to leave with this last question.
Yeah.
If someone only knew your title as a
Yep.
real estate investor, they might miss who you really are.
Yep.
What would you want them to know beyond real estate?
That I am a believer. That's what I want people to really recognize me as. My success, thank you. My acknowledgments, thank you. My awards, thank you. But none of that happens without God. So I want people to understand that God is first. And that you too can have everything that I have if you put God first, right? And it ain't promised. I'm not, because that plan may not be for you, right? You may have another plan, but I would love for people to be like, no, Darius is a servant leader. He is obedient. He gonna try his best to live a God-like life, and he gonna serve and stay humble.
Perfect. So that's all I have for today at
Yeah.
Faces of Real Estate. I appreciate you sitting down with us.
This is good, bro.
Yes, sir.
I feel like we didn't